next component of group insurance that we'll cover will be extended health care. Now, when we talk about extended health care here, I'm going to include dental, prescription drug, and vision care. Just because they all work in a very similar way, quite often they're lumped together anyways. So extended health care is going to cover, just as you saw back in Module 10, extended health care is going to cover the stuff that's not covered by your provincial health care plan, but is related to a necessity for health care. You won't find in here that we're going to cover elective treatments or cosmetic treatments, but extended health care will cover anything then that's not elective or cosmetic and isn't already paid by your provincial health care plan. I shouldn't say anything, sorry. Extended health care plans do have some limitations. So it might cover, for example, massage therapy, but it might only cover you for 10 massage visits for a year. And it will treat most paramedical practitioners, people like massage therapists and physiotherapists and acupuncturists in that manner. That is, it'll say, we'll pay for something, we'll pay for 6 or 8 or 10 visits for a year, but we're not going to pay for everything. The dental portion of the plan, dental portions can get quite complicated. And part of the reason is that portion can get quite expensive. So within the dental portion, this is where we see some pretty careful anti-selection measures by insurance companies. They might cover routine cleanings in the first year of the plan, but they might say no ortho coverage until year 2, for example, or maybe no ortho coverage until year 3. And you'll also find here some fairly comprehensive cost-sharing measures. You'll find less frequently today, but very common at one time, was deductibles, and you'll find co-insurance quite often here as well. So you may not get all of your dental coverage or all of your dental costs covered, but you'll get the majority of them covered by many plans. You'll include here orthodontic coverage, and orthodontic coverage is often quite restrictive, maybe no more than $2,500 per member per lifetime, for example, or maybe no more than $1,500 per year. So there are a variety of ways we can incorporate some cost sharing here. Prescription drug plans. Prescription drug plans can work a number of different ways. With group insurance, you'll see one of two things. You might have a pay direct plan where you have a little card that you swipe and the pharmacist then just goes straight to the insurance company for reimbursement, or you might actually take a receipt and submit the receipt to the insurance company yourself. Prescription drug plans do typically have some cost-sharing measures as well. It's very common to see a co-insurance factor worked into prescription drug claims. Vision care, smaller employers tend not to choose vision care. Vision care really is almost an in and out transaction where all of your employees put in a couple $100 each, and then the ones that get glasses get to claim it, usually to some fairly restrictive limits. But if you do include a vision care plan, it will look kind of like the dental and prescription drug portions of the plan. It'll cover so much, and it might cover it so much every 2 years, for example. But it's only really done with larger employers. Smaller companies tend not to include vision care. If you're not selling group insurance, if you're not in the business of selling group insurance, it's still useful to be aware of this and to be able to read the benefits booklets that plan members receive, because you will end up doing some service work at some point with group insurance. Lots of people have questions about why their group insurance covers this or doesn't cover this or whatever the case is. And knowing how to read a benefits booklet, knowing some of the benefits that are available can be quite useful. So even if you're not actually selling group insurance, you can provide excellent service, a good value added to your consumers, to your clients, by knowing some of this information. And this is a place where lots of people have questions. So having looked at those four basic components, the four most common sets of components, that is the life portion, the AD&D portion, the disability portion, and the extended health care portion of your group insurance plan. We've really covered the most common components of group insurance. Now, there are a couple of other things you should be aware of. One thing that is quite likely to be tested, actually, that has become increasingly common with group insurance is an EAP, an Employee Assistance Program or an Employee Assistance Plan. And what these EAPs do, they're kind of an element of preventative medicine. See, what happens, employers put these plans into place and they know that they're paying claims if something goes wrong. So they put into place an EAP, and the EAP is designed to prevent something from going wrong or to catch a problem early. So if you have an employee who's having a difficulty at home, maybe they have some relationship difficulties or a dependency issue, then that employee can typically pick up the phone and call a 1-800 number. And when they call a 1-800 number associated with the EAP, they're going to get a confidential referral to some sort of professional in the local area who will see them a limited number of times, maybe 6 or 8 or 10 times. And that visit is done confidentially then. The employee never has their information given to the employer that they went and saw this professional, but they get some help early before they have a serious problem. So those are increasingly common plans. The cost for EAPs is relatively low, primarily because usage is still relatively low. You'll see some employers use a reverse EAP where the employee actually has to go to the employer first and ask for permission to use the EAP before they can access that benefit. You'll also see today critical illness insurance included as part of group insurance plans. When we include critical illness insurance, it looks a little bit like the basic critical illness policy that you know from Module 10. The difference here would be that with that type of critical illness policy, it tends to have a lower benefit amount, maybe $10,000 or $25,000, and it may not cover the broad range of conditions covered under a comprehensive critical illness policy. Now, something else you should be aware of. I talked about it when we talked about funding options in a previous set of videos, but employers are sometimes looking for ways to help control their costs. So, especially with larger employers, but not only with larger employers, today it has become quite common for employers to shop around different portions of their plan to different insurers. So you might look at one insurer's life insurance and say, you know what, that's a really good deal, but I don't really like their disability portion. And then you might end up placing your life portion with that insurer and placing your disability portion with a separate insurer. So especially with larger employers, they will have a variety of different coverages in place with different with different insurers, depending on what's appropriate for them. And as mentioned in the funding options plan, they might have their extended health care and maybe their short-term disability on a self-insured plan, while they have their life, AD&D, and maybe long-term disability on a fully insured plan. So there are a variety of different options here as far as constructing group insurance, and those that specialize in group insurance really get to know exactly where they can find the best bang for their buck in the group insurance world. If you are in the business of selling group insurance, if this is something you find yourself doing, then you will find that shopping around for the best deal can be quite viable. You'll find that there are a great number of options out there as far as what actually happens with group insurance. So having talked about the different options for group insurance, and we touched on a little bit in this section taxation, you'll want to go back to your text and make sure you do understand the tax consequences of group insurance, although you don't have to know them to great detail. We've looked now at an introduction to group insurance and its basic structures. We've looked at the pricing of group insurance and the funding options. We've looked at the coverages available within group insurance. So continue your studies. Enjoy. If you have any questions about group insurance, as always, feel free to contact us. Contact information is on the website, on the back of your textbook. And good luck. Enjoy. Thank you very much.